What's going on, guys? I hope you're subscribed to the Trib Live Radio YouTube page. We always have tons of good content, sports talk, a little wrestling, and of course, probably everybody's favorite to look at is the wonderful features that come in to Blush 9th Street downtown. And this has got to be our top favorite, and the views and the followers on Twitter, it all shows it. The one and only Lisa Ann. Welcome back, sweetie.
Thank you. Great to be back.
Great to have you back. And as always, you always come back with more news, more positive accomplishments. Most recently, I guess we'll talk about is the production company you launched in August.
Yes, launched a production company in August, the Real Lisa Ann Productions. My movies are being distributed through Jules Jordan Video. So Jules helps me with all of my distribution, my cable deals, VOD, all of that. And then I own the content, so I'm able to put it up on my site, thelisaann.com.
Wow.
So I get to really get my fans into some of the newer girls that I'm shooting and some of the legends that I'm bringing back. I just shot Houston. You remember Houston?
No.
Houston was really popular in the 90s. She did a couple great things. We're good. She did a couple great things. She did the Houston 500, which was a 500-guy gangbang.
Okay.
She also did this thing
This
on
is before
Howard
my porn
Stern.
time. I need to
She
brush
did
up my
this
porn
great
history.
bit on Howard Stern where she took a kid to his prom. And this was before, the internet, social media, and all the easy ways to access people. So it was a pretty big deal. And then that kid and her became really good friends. And he traveled with her for a bit. So I met him quite a few times. Yeah, he's 18. He's going to the prom with Houston.
I just got a little history lesson. It's kind of like that movie, The Girl Next Door, when they have
Yes.
with
Yes.
Lisa Cuthbert and the other girls.
So I'm shooting one movie a month. It takes about 5 days to shoot each movie. And then it gets edited, and it gets, all that gets taken care of. I have people doing everything. It's really been a fun experience because I'm matching up my talent. I'm picking out their wardrobe. I'm able to be really specific on what I think people want.
Talk to me about that side of it, because you're so accomplished as a performer and as the brand of your name, which now you're extending into the behind the scenes. Talk to me about where's the reward? Where's the reward in this side of it? Is it the creative control? Is it
It's for me. It's really just being able to stay on the pulse of the business. I'm shooting much less, and I'm getting involved in different projects. So with that in mind, I'm not in LA 10, 20 days a month anymore.
Sure.
I'm not as active in the business. So this allows me to still have my finger on the pulse of the business, meeting new girls, and also giving work to people that I just love.
Yeah.
So it's really
That's nice.
that's really fun because it's like I know we love each other and they're going to show up and I'm going to make their day simple and it's going to be, an easy paycheck for them and something they're proud of.
We're talking to Lisa Ann. You can follow her on Twitter at The Real Lisa Ann. You can, of course, see her at Blush. She is here today, the 8th, and tomorrow, the 9th. You can go see her at 9th Street downtown. So now you're keeping a pulse in the business by this new venture, but you've also been really good at being one of the rare ones that can go into mainstream, and you're so multi-talented with your interest. What's the plan? Do you never want to fully leave the business of adult film?
I can't make the decision yet. I know I won't be shooting forever myself.
Sure.
But that doesn't mean I can't be a director. So.
Well, I think you could. She gets a year older and you look better every single time. I don't know what you're doing, but
I think I could stay on that level as long as I want to. So that gave me a solid foot on the ground where it's like, even when I'm not shooting, I can still be active if I want to.
Sure.
It's kind of hard for me to roll it out. I know everyone else is always like, I want to move on to other things. This has been my whole life.
Yeah.
And this is just what I know, and this is what I love, and this is what's given me the life that I have right now. So there's this gratitude and guilt that goes with not wanting to walk away because I'm so thankful, and also I would feel so guilty because I have such an impact. I meet talent, especially young talent, and they know who I am, and they've been watching me, and they've been following me on Twitter for years. And so when we meet, I realize I have to be very present in that moment, and I have to be a really good leader. And to show them that your life can be amazing when you do this for a living, to not get wrapped up in drugs or alcohol and all of those little things that I realize I need to stay just for that, just to be sure that everybody remembers that's possible.
Well, before we move to other projects, you said something that I think is really interesting that I gather with you is that you've always, from the couple years I've known you now, that you've always kept yourself together. And I don't know your entire life history, but
Never been a hot mess.
Right, exactly. You've never had. I can't picture. I can't picture that if there was TMZ in the '90s that you would have ever
been drunk on the top of the car,
right?
trying to find my keys.
Yeah. You've always
hitting somebody on the side of the road like a Lindsay Lohan situation.
You've kept yourself with great dignity. And as much I guess you can with your image, and I don't know, but talk about that. Like that's got to be huge to try to tell the girls
Yes.
this is bigger than a one night high. This is a.
And I tell them, like everyone wakes up every day hoping that they can make more money than they did yesterday.
Sure.
I mean, the world we live in is driven by your finances. So I tell the girls, like, so you have this opportunity to make this money and set up potentially the rest of your life. And this opportunity leads nowhere if you decide to use it to party.
Yeah.
It can't be a lifestyle, And it's funny because I don't know how everybody gets so sucked into those things because I never had that. So I can't judge them because I can't relate.
Sure.
So, but I just do tell them, like, you can be your own boss, make your own schedule, make your own money, plan vacations when you want to, see your family and friends when you want to. I mean, really, to me, it's just such a no-brainer that it's such an awesome situation.
Yeah.
But there's that temptation there, and people fall into that temptation really easily. Even just at strip clubs, I see these girls that drink every night, and I'm like, doing anything every night just can't be good for you. Pick like 2 nights a week.
Well, except for maybe sex.
That would be different.
There are exceptions.
Or sports.
Or sports. Well, speaking of sports, you're the pro. You know how to segue. We always talk about you have your sincere interest in sports. We talk. I know NBA is your favorite. I think football's number 2. And we could say you've been working with Sirius.
Yeah. So this has been something that I've been begging for a little over 2 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew nothing about fantasy sports. And really, the way for me to get in with the network was they had a fantasy sports network. They have another girl, Pilar Larstra. She's actually was a Playboy Playmate in the 90s, and she has a fantasy sports show, and she does really well. She's like on the DirecTV app for the Miller Girl, you know. Yes.
Damn.
So I was like, okay, there's so many broadcasters in the network. But at the time, there were only 2 women. And they used to do this Playboy, lingerie, fantasy football thing. And I just kept going in, talking to the guys in New York, like, hey, I'm going to get an apartment down the street. I'm going to live here. I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to learn fantasy sports. So I just studied, and a couple great things happened, and the timing was right, and they hit me up and said, okay, we're ready. So it's Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern, Sirius 210 XM 87, and it's called Lisa Ann Does Fantasy.
Well, check that out, and I would have to think, as you're saying that, there would have to be a great potential for the fact that you already have, 500,000 followers on Twitter, and so many guys already know you from one thing or another, that you could probably go in and have a Lisa Ann website that's not for porn, but just for fantasy sports, and have a webcast and stuff like that.
You know what? For me, it's the perfect
You
segue.
could be on go do Fox.
You
or
never know.
ESPN.
You never know.
Fox Sports One's
you
launched.
can't say it never. It can happen. That would be a total dream come true. I want to stay connected with my fans. A lot of the guys that know me for years, it's the point now where we're like friends, where it's like they're past hitting on me.
Mm.
They've been watching me for so many years. We've had great times together, whether it's coming into their club, featuring, or seeing them somewhere. It's like this allows me to still engage with them and still continue on that fan base and that friendship.
That makes sense. Well, like I said, every time, as I said when we started, every time you come in, you have something positive to talk about. It's amazing that you continue to grow and brand. Just when I think you can't get any bigger, you do. What's the next goal? Is there any goal?
The next goal is
eyeing?
just to grow this sports future
Right.
for myself. I will tell you, I downloaded the entire Dr. J book and read the whole thing the same day it came out, which was on Tuesday.
Okay.
Have you heard about the Dr.
I
J
have.
book?
I have.
You've heard there's one controversial story that everyone's talking about, which shocks me because the book was so good. There's so much more than one thing, and it's funny how people get hung up on one thing.
I was curious. Well, you just gave me a little book review. That makes me intrigued now.
It's, you know what, if you like, it was a perfect mix of his personal life and sports stats and stories of when he was traded and how he had to mesh with different players. And at one point he refers to Michael Jordan coming on the scene as a rookie. And like, in our world, to hear someone say as a rookie, you forget Dr. J is that much older than MJ. And it was great. I love autobiographies, and especially on athletes. It's just I can read them.
How amazing is she? How amazing is this?
Took me 6.5 hours.
Oh. All right, you gotta give like one fantasy tip. You gotta give one fantasy tip here.
I would say fantasy basketball and football are so different. I look at everything when it comes to football. You can look up the past track record of how they played in that arena. Is it grass? Is it turf? What the travel schedule's like. Sometimes in my salary cap challenge, I'll only pick players that get to sleep in their own bed. I see how that works. They might be more rested. They might like their home field. I mean, when you look at Seattle's a great example.
Especially going west to east when they lose
Yes,
time.
exactly. And when you look at Seattle, who can win other than Seattle when they're at home? It's a great fan base. I mean, The Chicago Green Bay game on Monday night was incredible because seeing that's just like a local rivalry. I mean, we've been in Milwaukee when that game was going to happen, and it's just traffic, coming from all directions, just tons of traffic. So I was excited, sad for Aaron Rodgers, sad for Green Bay fans, and sad for all of us who had Jordy Nelson on one of our fantasy teams. I also have Eddie Lacy, so he's going to run the ball, so I'm still keeping him. And basketball, you just got to know your players, their health, their durability. I took some chances on some rookies, knowing that the season is so long. You can look at basketball one way. With 82 games, you are going to have people coming to you who need players. So I stocked people that people would want. I took Kobe, even though he's not healthy right now. When he comes back, he's going to be stronger than ever. I have Kemba Walker playing tonight. Very happy.
She's brains, she's basketball, she's boobs, she's everything. You can follow her on Twitter at @TheRealLisa, and of course see her again at Blush. And even if you don't get to see her this weekend, which I don't know why you wouldn't, but if you don't get to see her this weekend, make sure you do get to see her, whether it's here or anywhere. She's well worth the time and the visit. As always, we enjoy having you here. Thank you for making time.
Thank you so much for having me. I always love coming on here. Thank you.
Make sure you subscribe to the Triple Live Radio YouTube page, as we have more interviews coming up every single day.